Welcome to the African Weekly Roundup, a weekly program every Sunday here on HORUFADHI Media, where I discuss the latest news and events across the African continent. I'm Sudan Mohammed, your host and producer here on HORUFADHI Media. We hope you find this program very informative. Please like, share, and for similar content, do subscribe to HORUFADHI Media. Also, do subscribe to HORUFADHI Media Group's second channel, known as HORUFADHI TV, where you are currently watching this program and where you can find other exclusive programs just behind the scenes and Salah, among others. And last but not least, do follow myself, Sudan Mohammed, Suleiman Hashi, Yassine Abdi, and the wider HORUFADHI Media team on our social media platforms that should appear on the screen any moment. Let's get straight into the headlines. Let's take a look over at Sudan, where clashes continue for the 100th day as mediation attempts by regional and international powers fail to find a solution to the increasingly dangerous conflict. The fighting broke out on April 15th as the Army and Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, vied for power. Since then, more than 3 million people have been uprooted, including more than 700,000 people having fled to neighboring countries, in particular Chad. Some 1,136 people have been killed, according to the Health Ministry, though officials believe the number might be quite higher. Neither the Army nor the RSF has been able to claim a victory. The RSF's domination on the ground in the capital Khartoum, up against the Army's air and artillery firepower, which is quite superior to the paramilitary force. Now, infrastructure and government in the capital have fallen apart while fighting has spread westwards, particularly to the fragile Darfur region, as well as to the south, where the rebel SPLMN group has tried to gain territory. Over the weekend, the RSF moved into the villages of Gazira State, directly south of Khartoum, where the army conducted airstrikes against them, according to witnesses in the cities. In Niyala, one of the country's largest cities and the capital of South Darfur, clashes have continued since Thursday in residential areas, according to witnesses. Now, at least 20 people have been killed, medical sources say. The UN says 5,000 families have been displaced. Now, key facilities have been looted, residents say. Now, the fighting gave way to ethnically targeted attacks by Arab militias and the RSF in western Darfur, from which hundreds of thousands have now fled to neighboring Chad. Now, residents have accused the RSF soldiers of looting and occupying wide swathes of territory in the capital. The RSF has said it would investigate these accusations. Now, while the two sides have shown openness towards mediation efforts led by regional and international actors, none has resulted in a sustained ceasefire. Now, both sides have sent delegations to attempt to restart talks in Jeddah that have yielded often violated ceasefires. But the Sudanese foreign minister said on Friday that indirect talks had not begun seriously. Now, leaders of the army and the RSF headed a joint council since the ousting of Omar al-Bashir in 2019, the former president and dictator of Sudan, and diverged all plans for a transition to democracy. Now, civilian political groups as well as the RSF have accused the army of turning a blind eye to appearances by wanted Bashir loyalists in recent days. Now, Forces of the Freedom and Change, the main civilian coalition, said on Sunday it was holding a meeting in Egypt, which has offered itself as a mediator in the conflict. Now, earlier this week, armed men attacked a Doctors Without Borders group as the aid workers delivered medical supplies to a hospital in the capital city, the medical charity said. Now, the attackers violently assaulted a team of 18 people working for the global aid organization on Thursday as they attempted to bring supplies to the Turkish hospital in the southern Khartoum region, and the aid group said in a statement this week. Now, over to North Africa, where the migrant crisis continues to create instability in the region. Now, the EU and Tunisia last week signed a strategic partnership deal that includes cracking down on human traffickers and tightening borders. Now, the EU Commission's chief said the bloc would allocate 100 million euros or $112 million to Tunisia to help it combat undocumented immigration. The deal is also set to promote macroeconomic stability, trade and investment, the green energy transition, and legal immigration. Now, von der Leyen said the agreement aims to invest in shared prosperity. Now, although the migration crisis has calmed down in comparison to its peak in 2015, according to the European Union's border agency Frontex, the central Mediterranean route has been the most active path used by refugees to reach the EU this year, with nearly 66,000 detections reported by national authorities in the first 6 months of 2023, according to Frontex statistics. Now, they continue on in a report saying that the route accounts for 1 of every 2 irregular entries into the EU this year alone. And the Central Mediterranean route connects that is, North African countries including Tunisia, Algeria, Egypt and Libya to Italy and Malta. More than 400 refugees drowned in the Central Mediterranean in the first 3 months of the year, making the deadliest quarter since 2017 in the world's most dangerous refugee crossing, according to the United Nations. In recent months, thousands of African refugees have flocked to the northern city of Sfax in Tunisia, despite President Said's claims that the rise in sub-Saharan migration was changing Tunisia's entire racial makeup. Now, his comments have sparked racist attacks in the country and forced hundreds of people to flee Sfax. So why has Tunisia agreed to this deal? Well, Tunisia is struggling with a crippling inflation and nearing major debt crisis. In June of this year, the EU chief von der Leyen offered Tunisia 105 million euros to curb undocumented immigration and 150 million euros in immediate support, including a long-term loan of 900 million euros. But that loan would be contingent on approving a loan from the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. Now, talks on the IMF loan have been stalled since October because President Said rejected the terms, including subsidy cuts and a reduction in public wage bills. Now, as a result, the EU have approached Tunisia directly to reach an agreement. So what has been the reaction to the agreement? Well, rights bodies across the globe and the Mediterranean rescue missions have condemned the deal, calling it, and I quote, dangerous, and have questioned how it will protect the vulnerable sub-Saharan African migrants now under threat in Tunisia. Now, staying in North Africa, at least 6 migrants died after their boat sank off Morocco, the Moroccan state news agency said on Friday on its Facebook page. It added that the boat struck rocks and the 6 people drowned. 48 others were survived, and authorities have launched a search operation. Now, it was just last month when we marked 1 year since the tragic anniversary of an attempt by approximately 2,000 sub-Saharan African migrants and refugees to cross over from Morocco to Spain. At least 37 people died in an attempt, and 76 are still unaccounted for. In a scathing report released in June, Amnesty International accused Morocco and Spain of conducting a cover-up of their, quote, racist practices at the border. The group said Spain failed to open an independent investigation after Spanish prosecutors dropped their investigations because they said they had not found any criminal misconduct by Spanish security forces. Morocco never even opened a probe, the group said. At the Moroccan side of the border, and as a result of cooperation between the two countries, Moroccan authorities continue preventing black sub-Saharan Africans from reaching Spanish territory to apply for asylum at the border, and Amnesty International said in a statement. And the organization has said 22 bodies from the incident remain in a morgue in Morocco, even a year on, with no identification or investigation ongoing. Now, over to Central Africa, in the Congo, where at least 13 people, including 9 children, were killed when a soldier in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo opened fire on people gathered to mourn his deceased child on Saturday night, the army and a local official said on Sunday. The shooting occurred in the village of Nyakova, on the banks of Lake Albert on Congo's eastern Ituri province. Search teams are looking for the soldier, a member of Congo's Navy, and an investigation into the incident has been opened, said an official. Now, the village chief, Oscar Baraka Mugua, said 13 people were killed, including 9 children. It is unclear what led the soldier to begin shooting. Now, according to Mugua, the soldier was concerned his child would be buried without him being there. Now, staying in the Democratic Republic of Congo, at least 9 people have been killed and 16 others injured after an explosive device accidentally detonated in a field in a conflict-torn DRC region, in the eastern DRC region, that is, according to local sources that told AFP, International News Agency. And the blast occurred on Wednesday evening in Leboué Sud in the northern Kivu province in Rutshuru territory. Justin Mwangaza, a local civil society figure, said a civilian had picked up a bomb in a field and given it to a militiaman when it subsequently exploded. 9 people were killed and 16 injured, he said. A nurse at the nearby clinic confirmed the death toll, explaining that 2 people died on the spot and 7 later succumbed to their wounds. Some of the 16 wounded people are in critical condition, the nurse said. Now, armed groups, particularly M23, have plagued much of eastern DRC for decades, a legacy of regional wars that flared in the 1990s and the 2000s. According to accounts by the United Nations, there are more than 120 groups, that's armed militia groups, in eastern DRC alone. Now, over to East Africa, where police in Kenya say they have been ordered not to report the deaths amid protests against the rising costs of living. But an independent watchdog says at least 6 people were shot dead by police on Wednesday, and 27 more were shot dead in such protests earlier this year. A police official told the Associated Press they were told this week not to report any deaths in demonstrations that the political opposition had held on Friday. It wasn't immediately clear who issued the order. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. Police in the previous demonstration last week confirmed officers killed at least 6 people. While police in Kenya have long been accused by rights groups of using excessive force, there is growing concern about the tactics used under the current government. One police officer also was seen posing as a journalist on Wednesday's protests, which the Media Council of Kenya called, and I quote, dangerous. Now, the failure to report deaths or injuries from police action within 24 hours that the government created independent policing oversight authorities illegal, said the independent watchdog that's investigating the number of deaths. A commissioner with the IPOA confirmed to local broadcaster NTV Kenya on Thursday that the organization had not received notifications as they should. Now, data from Kiyamo's organization, which is the independent organization investigating the number of deaths, shows that 27 people confirmed dead by police in 3 previous opposition-called demonstrations this year. In addition, the watchdog has confirmed 6 shot dead by police on Wednesday, 4 of them in the capital, Nairobi. They were trying to confirm 4 more in various parts of the country. The independent watchdog on Wednesday confirmed 2 deaths in the western city of Kisumu, and witnesses at least 3 people shot dead and wounded in Nairobi. Now, the Kenyan Medical Association, in a statement on Wednesday's protests, said its members attended to hundreds of injured Kenyans and witnessed tens of fatalities. And as a result, and I quote in this, and as a result of the demonstrations in recent months, the statement didn't say who caused the deaths or the injuries. A spokesman for the Interior Ministry, Francis Gachuri, said on Thursday, refused to answer questions about the police, asserting that they have operational independence. Now, a spokeswoman for the police has not addressed any serious questions from the media. Now, Interior Ministry has said more than 300 people were arrested during Wednesday's protests and will be charged with crimes including looting, destroying property, and assaulting the police. Now, authorities didn't comment on the dead or the wounded or respond to witness allegations that the police officers at times fired into homes and posed as journalists. Now, the arrest and subsequent detention of a local MP, Babu Owino, could fuel further demonstrations. He's been charged with various accusations, including conducting subversive activities. Now, the MP was one of several vocal opposition figures arrested in connection with protests this week. Among others includes Miyana and Genja, the former leader of the proscribed organization Mungiki, who has associated himself with the opposition. And those are the top stories on the headlines today in African Weekly Program. Please tune in next week for any other headlines across the African continent.